during the presentations, which we will then see soon. And if you have questions during the presentations, please use the chat box, and then we can collect your questions and also comments to the presentations and ask them after the presentation to the speakers. So let's have a short overview of our activities, which we have and which we are going to offer you then from January on. The next step after today's workshop will be a workshop on invest and funding sources for ECs in January. And then we have some more workshops or webinars. So with the one with regard to renewable energy sources for ECs, and also the next one, then regulations on PV. There's also planned a workshop on the one-stop shop. And this, as you see here, is the rough schedule which we plan, and so that you have a kind of overview what you can expect here and how also our today's workshop is situated in our program. So what is the goal for today? So today we focus on the stakeholders. What are stakeholders? There's a kind of definition. We define them as individuals, entities, or organizations that are involved or interested in a particular project or action. For example, also those who are involved into setting up or support an energy community in their respective towns or cities or regions. All those people who are affected by energy community setup or initiation, and also the running of ECs. And there's also people who can provide an impact or an input to energy communities. And what we will today try to work on with you is the topic of stakeholders engagement, also from a technical assistance office perspective, but also from the energy community perspective. And so what you will learn today is to get to know promising engagement method for both, on the one hand, energy communities, and on the other hand, from a technical assistance office perspective. You will also learn about the understanding of needs and challenges which stakeholders face, and which also you as a technical assistance office might face regarding stakeholders. And so questions like, who are my most important key actors for energy communities? What are their needs? How can I address them? And then finally, we will really show you practical examples of how to proceed, but you would also get to know what are your experiences with stakeholders. And so therefore, in this workshop, we try to work together so that you have also time and possibility to talk about your experiences, and so that we can have an exchange on our experience and maybe find solutions which can help one another in onboarding stakeholders for such projects. So now to the specific agenda here. We have, as I've told you before, we have 2 hours. We will have a break after roughly 1 hour. This means about 11 o'clock, so this morning. So the first, what we will see is are 2 presentations of Enol from our colleagues, our project partners. The first one is about how citizens engage and stakeholders engagement is crucial really for establishing an energy community, but we also have an insight into a really effective and successful method of onboarding stakeholders. This is the open innovation journey, and our colleague Marta will talk about this concept. But before, Elina will talk about her experiences with citizens and stakeholders engagement for establishing energy communities. We will then have a first interactive session. This is a brainstorming activities where we then move to the Miro board, which we have prepared. Here you can also bring with you your experiences here into the workshop to the questions: who are my stakeholders and who are my key actors to consider? And then we'll try to get some common understanding, or also kind of maybe you share some experience, maybe they are different, but in this phase, we can also come a little bit more into kind of developing solutions or getting ideas how to solve possible issues with stakeholders. Okay, after these this first part, this second presentation of Marta from Enel, we'll have a question and answer session for all to share the results from the Miro board work, but also we can then kind of connect it to the two method inputs we got from our colleagues from Enel. And after this, we'll have a coffee break. And then after coffee break, so at about 11 o'clock, we'll go or see a practical example from Anja from the city of Copenhagen, who will show how they, within their technical assistance office of the city of Copenhagen, address stakeholders, what they do, what methods do they apply for this task, and we'll get some experience from her side to this topic. And then we go into another group where we can work into two different perspectives. The one is the technical assistance office perspective, and the other one the perspective of a specific energy community who is in the phase maybe of planning, initiation, or whatever. And here we would like to know what are the needs and possible solutions of the stakeholders, which are practically identified in the brainstorming. And here you can also bring your experiences with you into this work group. And if we are through this, then we'll have a kind of common discussion here and kind of wrap up all the results which we have achieved after this 1.5 hours. And then at about 12 o'clock, we will be through and the workshop will be finished. Are there any questions regarding agenda for the moment? Please raise your hands, or in the chat, is there anything? Okay. Right. The Miro board, Andrea posted in the chat the link to the Miro board so that you know for later where we will meet then and switch over to Miro board. Okay, then let's start with our first presentation from Elina, and I will have her presentation also on my screen. Just a second.
Thank you very much, Edgar. So good morning, everyone. In the meantime, while Edgar is sharing the screen, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Very happy to be here also with you today. My name is Elina Magusiari. I'm project manager at Enel, the European Network of Living Labs. And in LIFE-BECKON, we are responsible for the LIFE-BECKON capacity building program that was designed and focused on knowledge sharing and capacity building of local action groups, municipalities, energy agencies, or other actors interested in establishing energy communities. So we are here to support in that journey. Also, you as replicators in the program. And today we will see together the citizen and stakeholder engagement when establishing energy communities. So a few things to consider. Also, to take inspiration from for the activity that we will follow, and then Martha will also show you the tool that we came up with. So yeah, or if you can go for the next slide, please. Yes, the topics that we will cover today. So we'll see and define. Yeah, great. So we will cover and define what is a stakeholder, what is considered a stakeholder, who can be your stakeholders or energy community actors in your journey of establishing energy communities. from these stakeholders why citizens are important to be engaged. And also we will see stakeholder engagement as a process, and also some tips around engaging stakeholders and communicating with them. So starting with the first one, if you go to the next slide, please. Seeing the stakeholder by definition. So the most common definition out there is given to a stakeholder that is an individual, an entity, organization that is involved and or interested in a particular project or action, for example, in the process of setting up or supporting an energy community. What is often neglected is the stakeholder is also a person that is affected in any way, directly or indirectly, by the project you are doing. Also very important to say that the stakeholder input into what you're doing has a direct impact on the progress and eventually success that your project may have, so your project's snapshot. And also, in your case of stakeholder and in energy community, stakeholders can be referred also to energy community actors that we will see also in a bit. And these are the individual, again, entities or organization involved in any way and in any stage of setting up an energy community. So from the initiation all the way to the operation. Next slide, please. Yeah, so when talking about energy community actors and stakeholders, these are two categories that you can have in mind, trying to understand what type of stakeholder each entity or organization is. So we have insiders and outsiders. By insiders, we mean the actors and stakeholders that are already engaged in some way in other energy community initiatives. And you can understand that by this, they already have a high level of awareness or knowledge that can be used within your process and within your project. And this can be, for example, professionals in the energy sector, municipalities already engaged or having energy communities operating those SMEs operating in energy community projects, and so on and so forth. So these are the insiders, the ones that bring inside the knowledge already gained into your project. And from the other side, we have the outsiders that are those potentially interested but not get engaged in energy communities. So they might have some level of awareness, or they can be concerned or aware about climate change and want to be part of this energy transition, but the knowledge level is not so high. So they're partly equipped with the levels required to get engaged. So you need to think about how they can actually get this knowledge and be more aware to be engaged in energy communities. Examples of outsiders can be citizens, municipalities not yet involved in energy communities, service providers, financial bodies, etc. Also, next slide, please. When talking about stakeholders or energy community actors, it's very important to have in mind a holistic approach upon it. This is here a scheme, and it is inspired from the Quadruple Helix model, also what we have highly promoting in the Living Labs context. So to get this holistic view upon the society, meaning getting involved all the different categories of the society, so we have all the required perspectives. So by all categories of society, I mean academia and universities, and you can see different examples for the different categories: industry and business, so private sector, government and the public sector, but also civil society, which of course is very important. And it's not only the citizens, can be informal groups, can be environmental or community groups, NGOs, professional unions, etc. So all these actors being brought into a project and collaborate and interact within the energy community framework, each of them contributing in a different way. Can be expertise, can be resources, can be a different kind of support, can be combination of those things, but they bring their own perspective and their own contribution. And it's also important to have this multi-perspective and holistic approach on the society, either when thinking of actors that should be part of your energy community, or actors that can act as a service provider to your energy community. And next slide, please. So here you can see some examples of some key stakeholders to consider during your energy community journey. I'm not going to go through the explanation of each of the groups, but you can see that there are different subcategories of stakeholders that you can consider. For example, for civil society, individuals and households, environmental and community groups, for government and public sector authorities, municipalities, policymakers, regulators, academia and universities, research and educational institutions. When you go to the next slide, you will see the private sector that can be found SMEs, DSOs, financial consultants, technology providers, energy service companies, so on. You will have the slides later, so you can also see in more detail the definition and descriptions we give into these key stakeholders so you can be inspired. You go to the next slide. So from the stakeholders mentioned before, of course, very important to have this holistic approach upon the society, but especially citizens coming from civil society is very important, very essential to get on board and engage, because they can have an impact on the success and effectiveness of your energy community projects. It's very important to have citizens on board, because in this way you can align with real local needs, because you will receive from them what is actually needed in the place that they are working or they're living in. And this can ensure higher social acceptance and adoption rate at the end. Secures people long-term support also to the community, can also develop a sense of ownership upon what they're doing, bring new ideas, fresh ideas, so you can boost innovation and creativity in your process. You can empower people to make more informed decisions about energy. You can ensure that your decision-making process and your operations have a certain level and high level of transparency and accountability, but also you can stimulate economic benefits for the people of the community, for example, by creating more jobs in the community. So moving to the stakeholder engagement in the next slide. So we'll talk about different stakeholders and the categories and how we should see this full spectrum of the society. So when talking about stakeholder engagement per se, we talk about transposing what you have in mind. So your strategy, your plans, the activities you plan to have with your energy community into the who. So who you need to bring on board, who you need to involve. It's very important to understand from the very beginning who are the people that you need to consider as relevant and key actors for your energy community, map them out, and identify from the very beginning what is the added value for them to be on board. You need to be able to describe to them and make them understand what is the added value for them to be included. And of course, what is the role and the responsibilities that they should have in the different activities. Also, very important to understand the level of involvement you expect from them to have, but also very important for them to have a clear understanding of what is expected from them, because there the communication can be aligned, and then there is a certain common understanding upon the process. Some tips, then if you go to the next slide, regarding stakeholder engagement when setting up in an energy community. So you can see here that through the different phases of setting up an energy community, from initiation to the operation of it, you can find and target, let's say, different stakeholders to be involved in different and certain moments. Starting from initiation, again, these might be more suitable for founding members of an energy community, potential local partners or groups interested in the project activities. So here you can see for engagement to see how you can provide input to them, so you can co-create the vision of the community and align the objective with real needs and expectations I mentioned before. For the design, more relevant maybe to consider the local authorities, potential investors, community members, suppliers, etc. So you can actively involvement in the development of a business model of the project design. Throughout the implementation, again, local authorities, regulatory bodies, contractors, technology providers, etc., and get engaging with them, and of course with the regulatory bodies, for example, to obtain permits and approvals necessary. And throughout the operation, of course, you need the community members, local authorities, relevant partners or suppliers, and you need to think of ways of engaging them in an ongoing and continuous process and flow for the establishment of a proper organization management structure. So if you go to the next slide, here you can see some guiding questions for stakeholder engagement. So this is just a suggestion, let's say, for some check-in questions that you can have in mind, try to see if you can answer throughout the whole process from the very beginning, but also throughout the different phases of setting up an energy community. So what you will do, for whom and why. Why is also very important here. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Which categories and subcategories of the people do you need? And when. So, of course, for example, civil society is very important, but also who from the civil society? Is it only citizens? Is it NGOs? What type of NGOs? Be as specific as possible to narrow down and map out all the stakeholders. What is the role of these stakeholders that you are getting to? Which are the actions you expect from them to perform? How and where do you recruit them? How are you going to keep them engaged and support through the process, or how you can keep them happy, because this can be a long process that you need them to be engaged in. and also what are the relevant rewards that you can think for them. So as incentives that they can help them sustain their interest through time. Next slide, please. Yes, and stakeholder engagement, of course, it can take many forms and it take many formats. So for depending on the timing, you need to perform an activity, the setting, the format, the target audience you have, you may, and of course, the expected outcome you want to have from each of the activities. You might want to use different tools. Here you can see a series of toolboxes that you're going to find online that can help you and inspire you of using such tools. There are different templates that you can either print out and use on site, but also use online guidelines of how to use different tools. What are tools more necessary for different certain type of activities that you can find inspiration from. You will have the slides so you can also have access to the links. And also going to the next slide and some tips when engaging with stakeholders. So very important, expectation management, very important to have with your stakeholders. It is often common, and not only in an energy community setting, also very common to what we have seen in the Libyan context, that people and stakeholders are not always that open or positive to the ideas you want to involve in a project you want to involve them in. So you really try again to explain the benefits and the added value for them to be included, trying to shift the mindset that they have into a more positive one. And of course, it's very important to define and clarify your scope and also the limitations you have from the very beginning so they know what to expect. Also talk to their language, very important, so you can have a clear understanding for your stakeholders. Too much of a technical or project jargon might not be helpful because they might require technical knowledge to be understood. And of course, it cannot work to all types of stakeholders. So it might be easier for a technician from a technology provider to understand something super technical, but might not be the case for a citizen group, for example, that might not have the knowledge. So always try to adjust how you present things and also use examples to make your points clear. And also sustains your stakeholders' interest in the long run. This is something that you need to have into consideration. It's very important because you need to think in a sustainable way. So for the future of your community, it is a long process. You have different phases and might not all stakeholders should be needed to be involved throughout all the phases and all the activities. So engage them wisely in the right moments when they really are required to provide input and be there with you. And don't overload them with information that might eventually make them to lose interest or worse, actually dropping out. And also some tips, lastly, for when engaging, but also when communicating with the stakeholders here, because communication can be really challenging, again, having to be there and involved with different types of stakeholders and audiences. So be adaptable, be flexible. This comes to the communication strategies you're using with the stakeholders because people change, preferences change, agendas change. So be there because you might need to adjust the channels you're using for your communication, how often you communicate with them, what type of activities you're engaging with. Be there, ready to be flexible. Also, make communication accessible and inclusive because everyone should be able to participate in the dialogue you're getting them to. So think about potential language barriers or disabilities that can make you think of more in a more inclusive way. Be open, be transparent with the stakeholders. It's always fine and actually builds more trust and meaningful, positive relationship with them. If you say from the beginning, I don't have all the answers. We are here, want to have you on board so we can exchange and we can go through this together. And also aim always for two-way communication. It's not only you try to get them into activities and learn from them, but it's also the other way around. Always have in place mechanisms for feedback and seek for input from them. Be there actively listening to them, what concerns they have, questions or suggestions, because this is a very effective way that you can help you improve the process you are following along the way. And this is it for the, let's say, more informative part of the session before moving into the interaction and the exercise. So as I mentioned here, in the LIFE-BECKON One-Stop Shop platform and the training hub that we developed for the capacity building program, we developed a series of videos that cover different themes and core themes around energy communities, and stakeholder engagement was one of them. So you can find there the videos, you can find slide decks on top of what we will share from today, more informative also, including more information about the community strategies and what you can do there. You can find them also in translated in different languages that you can access. And of course, we're here for questions if needed or afterwards. And that is it from my side. If there are any questions before getting into the Miro board, Edgar, I'm not sure if you want to keep it for the Q&A later.
Thanks a lot, Elina, for your nice introduction to the topic. And so I hope that now everybody, so we have here a common understanding what stakeholders are, how are they defined, what we consider as stakeholders here in the process of establishing or initiating planning energy community. Are there any questions? Would you like to add something to the information Elina gave us, to her insights, to her tips? Please raise your hand and we can discuss it shortly before we go to the next step. If there's nothing, then Andrea, the floor is yours now with the Miro board.
Yeah, thank you. If you just a moment here. Okay, can you see my screen? I think so.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, super. So, okay, first of all, I just copy and paste some interesting input from Elina. She just shared for your inspiration. So here, because the goal of this 15 minutes of the brainstorming session is we will ask you in 3 minutes, really short, just to identify which are your most important stakeholders according to the quadruple helix here. So as Elina just presented, just try to put in those sticky notes, just take a sticky notes here, write who is the stakeholders and move it here. But can be not so much general, just try to be a bit more specific, so really thinking to your specific case, and no matter also if there are overlapping stakeholders. So if you see that other people are writing like DSO, just write yourself, because this will be helpful for the second part of this activity in the next 5 minutes. So after those 3 minutes, in the next 5 minutes, we will try to identify which are the most important one. So we will try to figure out the true relevant stakeholders from each quadrant, so that at the end we will have 8 stakeholders here. And then in the last 7 minutes of the first session, we will try all together to characterize those stakeholders. So really just trying to understand in which part of this quadrant that you have here on the bottom they can be included. So how much they are really of high or low influence, or high or low interest. So if you have any question, or if there is something not clear, just ask now. Otherwise, we can start now. So you have 3 minutes for putting your ideas into those first part here, and then we will move into the other 2 parts. I will take the time. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Andrea, I seem to only have view access only. I had to request edit access.
Okay. Did you request to me or
Yeah.
not? Okay. Okay, here. Should have access now.
Mm-hmm. How about the other participants here, colleagues? Does everybody have access, or
can you access now, Fiona? No, I had to send you an invitation. Yeah.
Okay, Laurencio told us that he neither has access for a moment. Read-only access, but not writing access. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, maybe again. Mm.
Just a moment, Lorenzo. I'm going to.
Yeah. Andrea, Lorenzo asked if we could make it writable for all guests, you know.
Yeah, I
Maybe share
cannot do
another
that.
link,
I
which
cannot
is
do that because well, it's not a paid version.
all right.
But you should just a moment. I think it's because you have the general email from Alea for the access. Just a moment, Laurenti, I'm trying. Okay, you should have received the invitation. So given the issues, let's say we have we can finish at 40, 10:40.
Andrea, Harika also asks for getting access.
Okay. Harika, the email.
So I think.
Okay, I send the invitation also.
The same for Diana. She has only viewers' rights for a moment.
Mm.
Okay, for Lorenz is still difficult. Maybe Andrea, Lorenzo, maybe you can put your ideas into the chat in maybe a few bullet points. Then we would take them up and put it on sticky notes. Would this be fine for you? Okay. Andrea, do you see what Lorenzo wrote
Yep.
on in the
Yep.
chat? Okay, all right.
Yeah, because you have to register to Miro to work on it. Yeah.
And
Or otherwise, Laurencio, for later on, it's something super quick. You can do really, you can just register with your even Google account and just send me your Google email here, and I will share the permission to access there. Will be useful also for the exercise that we are doing later on. So I think we have already enough stakeholders there.
Yeah.
And maybe we can move in the second part here. So maybe I just ask you now to switch on your video and microphone, and maybe we can decide all together which are the two most important stakeholders from each quadrant. Because otherwise will be like personal interpretation, and we don't want to do so. Yeah. So here we have from the government and public sector, we say, okay, local government, municipalities, again, so it's clear that we have, we can say local politicians with decision-making power. That could be something really including most of them. If you agree, I move this sticky note here, or rather than moving, I just copy. Okay. And okay, mayor is included there. I would say also Canton regional government. It's something important because we are going over the dimension, or like federal government landscape changes. Just tell me if you don't agree with that. I'm just taking the freedom just because in this case was really clear. And then when we move to the industry and businesses, we have DSOs, businesses who want to join the transition, big industry players in city in need of high energy demand, the producers, business associations, like Chamber of Commerce, business who have invested already in PP. So let's say we can put this one here. Housing companies, housing and real estate property management. So I think here DSOs are very important. If you all agree, I will take DSOs. And we can say here we should, I think there are those 4 different stakeholder categories here, and we should decide one of them who is important for you. Don't let me take the decision, please. Don't be shy.
Well, I was at an event yesterday morning, and there was 50 people in the room, and most of them were producers. They were businesses already with photovoltaic panels on the roof. So they're, looking for a way to valorize their investment already by joining an energy community and supplying renewable energy to the community. So anyway, where in our region where we are, the businesses that have already
invested
are very important, because it needs to make sense for them, or more sense for them, rather than for the businesses that haven't invested yet, let's say. So I don't know if anybody else has experience of that.
Thanks, Fiona. Or is anybody disagree with this? Otherwise, I will take the businesses. Sorry.
Depends a bit on the model in the country, or the model that's been used, but
okay, let's go for that. When we go to civil society, we have groups and agencies, cooperatives in renewable energy and social engagement. association and cooperatives, NGOs, schools, yeah, teachers and students. I would say association and cooperatives are very important because they have already the legal established structure, let's say, maybe if they want to become a such kind of energy community. And any preference from your side?
The NGOs are very important. We just recently did some work in Romania, and Greenpeace had done a lot of the background work in order to help to develop the whole energy communities market. So I think NGOs are all,
Yeah.
there's so many of them that are really helping to drive the whole market.
Yeah. Of course, if other have any other idea, just feel free to take the sticky notes and put there. Then we can cope with that. Let's say. So one is about academia and universities. Okay, social science, humanities, researcher of energy communities, technical engineers, researching flexibility, grids, mayor and representative of council of university also, and university focusing on energy production. Okay. I would say that, yeah, the institutional board of the university, it's very important. So we can say we can take this sticky note here, and then we can choose also from, or maybe we can just think about the different specialities of the university. So I think that the social science dimension, it's very important, but also the technical one. So maybe we can take those things in those sticky notes here. Okay. So we have now those 8 stakeholders here. And now I ask to you, so each of you, we have 7 minutes now, so until 54, if my math is not wrong. Just feel free to try to characterize those stakeholders. So what does it mean? Just take also your inspiration here. Just try to think how much they can be really interested or they can influence the process for establishing and running an energy community, taking in mind that the goal of this characterization is the identification of their needs and then the specific challenges associated, but from the technical assistance office and energy community perspective, in order to identify some possible solution to really get them motivated and actively engaged.
You want us to write the detail on a post-it under key stakeholders characterization?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do we get the post-it from? Create it or?
You can take even here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can also create post-its.
Yeah, also
by yourself. Maybe
now it's not important about the color now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if you have some others and another stakeholder which you really think is of great importance for you, you can also put it here, you know, because this is now you're kind of free, you know. If you say, okay, to the 8 which we have chosen now, this is a little bit difficult for you to characterize them, or they are of not that major importance for you, then maybe just make another sticky note, put your stakeholder on it, and characterize it on the right hand side here. So this would be an alternative, you know. Andrea. Anja also asked for access to the...
Didn't you get the permission, Anja? I sent it out. I sent the invitation again, Anja. If you have a Gmail account, maybe just share with me in the chat, and I will send the invitation there, because I invited you through your Copenhagen City account. I just move those here so it's easy to read for you. Okay, Anya, you are in. I see. So 1 minute last. Okay, so just to wrap up, okay, local politicians with decision-making power, of course, they are of high influence and dependency of parties. Also, this is very common, and same for the regional government. So let's say from the governmental point of view, of course, they are of high influence, but their interest, it's not always the same. DSOs, of course, they are of high interest, but also especially of high influence. And same for businesses that who have invested already in installations like PV and so on. They have, of course, a high economic interest to create established energy communities. Association and cooperatives, like for NGO, of course, they are always of high interest in those kind of topics, but their influence most of the time is not so high, I would say, according to which kind of NGO. So also from this point of view, we should be really careful to identify the most influent, of course, in NGOs as well, because at the end they bring votes to the mayor. And as regards the academia and university quadrant, of course, they are of high interest because they are always interested to the innovation and sustainability topic. But yeah, I also agree that most of the time their influence should be higher, I would say. But of course, they are also useful for solving, let's say, the most difficult question. At the end, I am interpreting this sticky note like that. And yeah, so I think we are already a bit late, so maybe we can stop our first brainstorming here and come back to the presentation, and then we will move after that to this 25 minutes of interactive activity where we will ask you to join two different breakouts, one from the technical assistance office perspective, the other one from the energy community perspective. So I stop sharing and give the floor to you again, Edgar. Thank you all for your active participation.
Thanks to all of you for participating and giving your insights on our Miro board. So then let's come to the open innovation journey, a really successful method for stakeholder engagement. And please, Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Edgar, for giving me the floor. So my name is Marta de los Rios. I am the head of capacity building and research at Enel. I am also a senior project manager at Enel. So as Edgar already gave you a preview, as well as Alina, I'm going to be presenting to you the Open Innovation Journey, which is a methodology that we created for this project, combining a little bit of information from different open innovation general tools and also some living lab tools. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I hope you can all see it. So as I mentioned before, the Open Innovation Journey was a methodology that was created by Enel at the European Network of Living Labs to support municipalities and entities in the process of creating their own energy communities. It is inspired by Living Lab principles, LIFE-BECKON as well, and the different activities that we have done, the different stages of creating an energy community and open innovation methodologies. So this methodology can reduce the shortcoming and vision for the different that we have seen in the literature and also in a needs assessment that we developed already almost 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago when LIFE-BECKON started. You have all of this information with way more detail in the training hub. So of course, feel free to go there and check it. So the Open Innovation Journey follows seven different steps. It goes from identifying the purpose until the end, having a clear implementation plan for any ideas that you decide to pursue. And the very first step is identifying the purpose. So this one is either for the energy community itself or the purpose that the municipality has in supporting the creation of an energy community. So of course, the question can be changed. Then the second step of this methodology is a SWOT analysis. I hope you're all familiar with the SWOT analysis. The idea is to understand your innovation ecosystem and the ecosystem in which your energy community is going to be implemented. So from this, understanding the internal and external factors that could potentially affect the energy community, and also the internal and external factors that can also support in the process of creating it. So understanding the positive and negative influences that your energy community can have, or the energy communities in your municipality. Then the third step is what is called the COCD box. COCD doesn't have a translation. Itself is the name of the organization that created the methodology. And this is a quick ideation methodology and tool that can help you brainstorm in a really fast way and start identifying which are the different methodologies, different solutions that you can start implementing with a short term. So with these, you will be able to identify which are the solutions that you can implement right now, which are very feasible and original, the ones that are very common and feasible, so low-hanging fruits, and also the ones that are not feasible yet, but could be feasible in the future. So that could also give you some ideas on where to move in the future. So when you identify the solution, the three different solutions that you would like to continue developing from this COCD box, then you need to understand who do you need. So this one connects with the activity that you just did, of course, in way more detail and for your own specific case. And it's identifying the stakeholders that are needed for that specific solution that you're going to be implementing. And after identifying those stakeholders, you need to identify and to assess how can the stakeholders influence your project and your energy community. So in this case, you will use a power versus interest matrix, and you will locate each of the stakeholders in different parts of these a matrix to understand also how to engage with them and how deeply you need to create a connection with them throughout the project. Then you will start working in the open innovation journey itself. So everything else was preparatory. So in this case, what we did is that we brought a methodology that was developed by one of our members from Energy Living Lab, which is also Fiona is here and she works with Joel, who was the person who created this methodology. So we are bringing the Living Lab integrative process and mixing it with the steps and stages of running an energy community. So after you have all of these different stages, we have a really big matrix where you are going to start identifying what is the journey that you need to take with each specific stakeholder so you can actually develop your solution. So the matrix brings you through initiation, design, implementation, and of your energy community, and it also gives you some prompts of how you need to consider this. So think of this as a normal stakeholder journey, but this one is matching with the solution that you created and also with the different stages of your energy community. Then finally, the very last step is the implementation plan itself. So considering what you did in the previous stage, which is recommended that you validate it with the stakeholders themselves, then you start creating an implementation plan for what you're going to be doing. Again, this is considering all the different activities in the different stages of initiation, design, implementation, and operation of your energy community. So think about this as a live document and a live methodology. So this is not a static. It is not something that you're going to do once and then we're good to go and we continue. But the idea is that as a team working on energy community and with the actors, with the most important actors that are engaged with the energy community, we should suggest that you revise it every 6 months to make sure that it is dynamic and it is still adapting to the realities of the energy community. So As mentioned before, we have all of this methodology in the training hub. You can go there, you have access to all of the different templates, to details on how to use each of the stages. Of course, we explain it very roughly here, but you will find information on the purpose, how to use it, what is it for, what are the different steps, and also some facilitation points. As you can see, for example, here we have 3 different steps to guide you, and also ideas on the proposed time that we have for each of the activities. These activities can all be done either online or in person. So you don't need a lot of resources to do these type of workshops. As long as you have some sticky notes and a blank wall, you can do all of these different activities. So of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We can support you in understanding better the methodology, or if you have any doubts on how to use any of the templates, which can be downloaded as well in the training hub, do let us know, reach out to Elena and myself, and we can support you in the process. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marta, for your interesting and really a helpful presentation for onboarding the stakeholders in this process, getting to their needs, and also have an overview of who is really of key importance for the process, and also to identify risks, but chances as well in the process which you face. So are there any questions now in this first part of our workshop, also to Marta, to Elena, to the things they have presented to us here? Please raise your hands, and then can maybe have a short discussion now finally in this first part. So if not, then, well, let's have now a 5 minutes coffee break, and then we will continue with our interactive part after this coffee break. So then let's be back here at 11:15, Andrea. Is this okay? But not later. So it would be better at 11:13 maybe that you will back again, so that we can really start at 11:15.
And no worries that you will not start with my horrible face, but you will start with the wonderful face of Anya explaining what they are doing in the city of Copenhagen. So just be in time. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then see you back in 5 minutes. So, hello back, everybody. So then we will start the second part with the presentation of Anja from the city of Copenhagen. So then, please, the floor is yours, Anja, and share your screen, and thank you.
Thank you, Edgar, and thank you for allowing us to share some of our experiences with you. It's been great to listen to the presentations so far. I think there's a lot of things that we all can grasp to our future work. I'll just share my screen here. Yeah. All right. So what I'll be talking about today is from a municipality's perspective on how to engage and influence stakeholders. I'll be zooming in on some specific ones, which I'll get back to who that is. I'll just make a short, just zooming in on what is the case in Denmark, what is it that we are influenced by, and all the way down to the capital of Copenhagen. I'll give a short introduction about our solar panel strategy, and then go into the methods and the strategies that we've had and used to define our target groups and go in and work together with them and influence them. I'll be putting a few of these little quotes, or not quotes, what do you call them, questions in these boxes, just to ask you guys also to share some thoughts, some reflections, some answers along the way. So just firstly, briefly an introduction of myself. I'm based in Copenhagen municipality in the Department of Building Renewal. I work as the project manager of our initiatives that are focusing on solar panel strategy and our outreach to citizens. I've previously been engaged in energy communities, or rather the efforts of trying to establish them. I think here in Denmark we have some challenges when it comes to sharing the energy that is produced between buildings. I know that some of your countries also have that challenge. Fun fact, so you might remember me for another time, I was the fattest twin ever born in Greenland, which have been registered. Maybe it's been beaten by now. This presentation has absolutely no graphic agenda. So you'll have to apologize me for simply not giving you this beautiful presentation that I think we've been seeing so far. You'll get a bit of it all, but hopefully it's going to keep you updated. So first, can I ask you guys to put in the country and the city that you're based in, just in the chat, if you have access to that. So where did it all start? Well, of course, with EU. We like to think that we decide more than we do in our countries, but definitely in Denmark, we are largely influenced by the EU. And when it comes to the green agenda, I would say lucky for that. We know that there is a large production capacity outside of the cities, but we also know that it is said that about 45% of EU's electricity demand can actually be covered in 2050 by our own productions. So in the EU solar energy strategy, it is said that we need to set up renewable-based energy communities in cities with a larger population than 10,000. So again, if you can put in the chat, is your city above 10,000 of population? When it comes to Copenhagen, we are definitely above 10,000. We are above 1 million. It gives some opportunities, but it also gives some challenges. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of opinions, good things and bad sides. So in Denmark, our solar energy strategy has started many years ago, but I would say at least during the last 5-6 years, it's taken some extra speed. In 2022, it was decided to quadruple the production of green energy by 2030. And one of the initiatives in that strategy says that the government is going to go in and detect some suitable areas. Now, here we are primarily focusing on local, what do you call the rural areas, where we can put off these large areas for solar panels. But it is also detected that they want to put up more solar panels on roofs in cities. And we are facing some criticism about it being more expensive, it's more difficult. It also ruins our architecture in cities. But I also do believe that it is really important, because we need to all take part in this agenda, and all take part in actually producing the energy. And we do know that a large part is also used in the cities for the industries. So we need to get the production closer to the consummation. When it comes to the initiatives that they want to strengthen the local ownership and involvement, that is definitely also about creating better circumstances for establishing energy communities. And this area they're struggling with due to some legal opportunities. I'll get a bit back to it. But we know that, let me just move this one up here. Yes, this is a quote from our minister, who says that the green transition is a team sport, and an ambitions cannot be achieved without active and committed citizens. And we can really hear the political agenda behind this this quote. And of course, we all love it. I would, though, add that we also need the prioritization of financial support and the legislation that enables it. Otherwise, we cannot just do it by our good energy and wishful thinking with committed citizens. So if we zoom in on Copenhagen and the case that we have here, right now we know that the housing that we're going to have in 2050 is buildings and housing that already exist 84% of today. So that's quite a lot of the housing that we already have today. Unfortunately, we can see that 70% of the private housings is energy labeled D or worse. So that means that we really need to look at these 84% that we want to have in 2050 and make them as good, strong, and energy effective as possible. We can also see that about 80% is private owned, and then there's a bunch of social housing. So that means that we really need to go in and look at these, not just completely 100% private owned, but also this shared housing owning that we have in Denmark, where you buy a share of a house and you then share the whole building with the other owners. So the solar panel strategy in Copenhagen comes from our latest climate strategy. And right now they're actually making a new strategy that will be launched hopefully within the next 3 or 4 months. And in that strategy, it says that the solar panels have to, or they're divided into 3 strategies. One that is targeted the municipality buildings, one targeted the industry, and one targeted private housing. Private housing is the area that I have a focus on. And that was further strengthened in a supplement strategy, where it said that we had to make this citywide outreach targeted citizens that lived in apartment buildings, which had a high potential for setting up solar panels. Now, the aim is to have about 200 of these private apartments to have their buildings screened for the potential. And that is within 2025, starting now, and then until 2024. So that is where I come into the picture. And we then looked at Copenhagen and thought again, okay, that's a big city. We know it's above 1 million. Where is our primarily opportunity? We know that it's 200 buildings. We know that we need to get people to have behind meter systems where they can produce energy from their solar panels on the roofs. and use as much of the energy, not just to their shared areas, but also within the apartments. So that's the kind of energy community that we're looking at supporting. People in these housings do not necessarily know each other. They might know their neighbor or a few others, but they don't know everybody. So looking at their motivations and barriers when they want to go in and should engage in an energy community like this. They're prosumers. They produce their own energy on the roofs and should use as much as possible. But we're also trying to increase their opportunity for selling the energy for a larger amount. So we went in and with some different, what do you call that, like specific categories. We looked at the size of apartments. We looked at the energy labeled. We looked at the direction towards the sun and so forth. And we detected about 1,000 buildings that is relevant as a primarily target the first year. This is supported with a picture of Copenhagen, where we also detected the radiation. So all the high red leveled houses are the ones with the highest potential. And then you would ask the question and say, okay, we know there's a high potential here, so why not just flick all these solar panels up and we know that it's going to benefit all of us? Well, I think we get a bit of the answer with this beautiful quote, that we cannot do this by technological solutions only. We need to bring on board the people. So in reaching the aim for solar panels in Copenhagen, or by Copenhagen municipality, we need to work as an authority, where we look at the colleagues that we work together with. We need to look at how can we engage people on a national level, also on EU level. Again, that's why we're here today, where we work largely as a decider, a top-down function. But we also need to look at what we call the local structures, the structures that are combining this top level with the bottom level, where all the NGOs and citizens are. That's where we have the local committees, the advisors, the industries, where we as a municipality work as an organizer. But we also have to go down and say, okay, how can we work more as a facilitator and as a supporter? It takes away the authority or the opportunity to just go in and decide, but it's actually also here where we have an opportunity to go in and co-create and create a very necessary ownership among the citizens that are to decide and implement the energy communities. So again, I'll invite you to put in the chat, how do you experience that you work to engage stakeholders? Is it primarily as an authority, or are you more a planner? Or would you say that you're a facilitator creating these opportunities? Yeah. So we asked ourselves the question, how can we engage stakeholders in a way that makes them support in reaching the goals for solar panels by the Copenhagen municipality? So it becomes the goals that are not just ours, but it's actually for the city, it's for all of us. Because we want the city to look like this. We want a lot of solar panels to come up everywhere. We also want to protect our architecture, so it needs to be a beautiful city meanwhile. And this is where I would say that it's not only about engaging, we also need to talk about how it is that we want to influence the agenda, because we can't, we are not going into this topic as with no opinion or no goal. In my perspective, in the situation that I'm in, we have this goal that we need at least 200 buildings to have their buildings screened to push for this opportunity. So we also need to look at how can we actually influence our stakeholders while we engage them. Now, to do that, you can work in a 5-step ladder, or these 5 levels of influence. I mean, in this sense, we're talking about it as a municipality, but it goes for everyone. It just depends on what level that you have access to. The first one is about you go out and you tell people, it's healthy to exercise regularly. And you can do that by give a presentation or something like that. You can also go out and actually do more an organized campaign. And we saw that in a connection to Corona, all the posters and the commercials, and you had the politicians and everyone going out and telling what it is that they wanted us to do or not do. Then you can work with positive incentives. That's where you try to provide positive gifts or things that will do people feel that they want to do what you want them to do. You can give them a smiley at a restaurant or something like that. And then you can give them funding. And here there is an absolutely wonderful case from the UK where they wanted to renovate the attics. And they set up this fund and asked people, come and apply for funding so you can have your attic renovated. And no one applied. And they were super confused. So they went out and started knocking doors. And what they found out was that people had so much, sorry my language, shit on their attics that they simply couldn't take the time to have it removed. So they didn't apply for the funding. So they went in and they changed the funding. So the funding instead gave money for people to have people come and move their shit away. And then they could renovate it. So the next one is the negative sanctions. That's where we see the taxes, the climate taxes, the fines, if you park in a place that you're not allowed to, and so forth. As well, we have the CO2 emission tax in farming that we are trying to push for here in Denmark. We got one slightly all right agreement recently, and hopefully it will be improved. And on the top level, we see the law enforcement. That's where we, for example, have the CSRD and we have other EU law. In Denmark, we have the case of the smoking policy that some years ago, it was decided that you were not allowed to smoke in bars, restaurants, and trains, and so forth. And it created this riot across the country, and people felt that it was a violation of their human rights and went to the streets and everything. But now, about 15 years later, it's the most natural thing for all of us not to smoke in restaurants and cafes. And the thing here is that the larger or the higher up you're on this ladder, the more effective it will be, but it will also be more expensive. And it's not everybody who has access to those high levels. So you really, really need to figure out, first of all, which level do you have access to, but also what are you willing to put into it of resources? So you need to look at what level of influence to use for which stakeholder that you're trying to influence. So in the Copenhagen case, we have these 200 buildings that we want to have solar panels. They should be screened for solar panels potential. So we want to go in and define the stakeholders to influence. And here I've gone to just screen dump the beautiful mirror board that has been made today with these 4 categories that we started looking at. And we made a brainstorm, and this is just a minor outtake from the brainstorm that we made about a year ago. And then we went in to say, okay, what are our key stakeholders to influence? And here the citizens who are living in these buildings that we have detected, they are our primarily target group. And then we went in and used this method or tool that I think a lot of you also know from previous. I've used the picture that Inol have shared, I'm quite sure, just to make sure that we're using the same graphics. And if you look at the bullets that I've made here, I would say they're quite easy to place. But with the citizens, they can easily be understood as many subgroups. Now, if we look at citizen in our case, it's the citizens in these buildings, and they are actually the ones with the most power, they have the most interest. We really need to engage them actively, and we need to keep them satisfied as much as possible. So when we had this target group, we looked at this 5-step ladder and said that we have access to these 3 steps where we can go in and influence. I would love to also be able to work on the 2 others, but these 3 are the ones that we have access to. The first one with creating knowledge, that's where we go in and make presentations, we create events, we make flyers and so forth, which is also connected to the second one, where we make a more organized, combined visual identity of what we are trying to sell. With our printed materials, the web design, and events that we coordinate together with these local structures that I mentioned that we can go in and influence on the medium level. And then we've set up a fund where we cover 50% of the professional advisor to screen the potential of these buildings. So again, in the chat, what level would you like to be using to influence your stakeholders? And you're welcome to share some reflections on what you have access to or what you would like to have access to. But it can help to, I think, create some reflections about the methods that can then be designed. Yes. The last point I just want to make is the level of influence that our government is implementing as well, because they're also setting up a fund of 24 million euros, and that's wonderful. Unfortunately, it's from the year 2024 to 47, so that only allows about 1 million euros per year, and that's across the country. So it's not, unfortunately, not a lot. But they have said that they are interested in putting that fund into solar panel on roofs. We are also looking forward to getting new local tariffs that will make it easier to share energy between buildings. They said they were going to launch it or announce it late 24, but it seems like it's going to be 25, and then they've said that it's going to be implemented also during 25. And then we have the new solar energy strategy that came in May 24, that gives some new directions for calculating the lifespan of the solar panels, and so the promise to support energy communities, and some other good points. Yeah. And then, of course, the last one, crossed fingers that they're also going to be implementing easy way to share the energy. This is a slide that can make anyone crazy. It's called basic, and it's absolutely not basic at all. So I've only put it here because I think that you should Google it if you find this area of work interesting, about how to engage, work together, and influence your stakeholders. So if you Google the basic framework, it will come up, and it gives some good guidelines on how to proceed in analyzing and understanding the behavior, how you can change the behavior, and the strategies to do so. Yes. So the road to better energy solutions is paved with energy engagement. Isn't that lovely? So let's hope that it can create the change that we need. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Anja, for this really inspiring and detailed presentation also about how you can influence your stakeholder and really get them on board. Really interesting, nice example. So maybe you have some questions to Anja and her presentation here. Please raise your hands. Just 1 or 2 questions, and then we will continue with our interactive part. Nothing so far. All right, then
Maybe
Andrea.
I have only one
of course.
question for Anya, because I don't want to leave this amazing presentation without any question, but maybe it's also useful for the next activity. If I ask you to share with all your colleagues, no, because most of them are coming from local authorities, which are for you the 2-3 key ingredients really that you would like to share with them for really for really engaging citizens effectively, let's say. So what are your really key points that you would like to like? I know it's really broad and difficult question, but really.
I think that since since community engagement is the key, ownership is one of the key points to your question. I don't think we're going to get anywhere if we don't manage to create ownership among the people that are to take these decisions. We know it's faster. We know it can be much more effective if we just do a top down, constantly and say, okay, the government will take care of it, or EU will take care of it. But the situation is that's not going to create ownership. It's not going to suck into our way of behavior and decision power. So I think that would be one thing: make sure to create ownership. And I think working as a municipality in Denmark, that role is changing. We've worked more as a top-down authority, but we are strengthening our opportunity and our ways to work more as a facilitator, an organizer, a co-creator. And when it comes to energy communities, I think that is super important, but it's also linked to the second answer to your question, and that is knowledge. Now, the municipality is we're not experts necessarily on everything that we are working with, but we have to make sure that the relevant knowledge is established among the people who need to take the decisions. So one of our initiatives is to make sure that these screening reports are qualified with some certain aspects. So we make sure that the citizens afterwards have the knowledge and the base to take a decision on whether to get solar panels or not. So engagement and knowledge creation.
Great. Thank you, Anya. Thank you. So we can go, we can try, okay, we are really late with time, but I think we can anyway go with our last interactive activity. So I'm just sharing again the screen. So the idea here is to split you into groups, as we said before, so you are free to join or the Technical Assistance Office Perspective group or the Energy Community Perspective group. I will launch it like in 1 minute. And the aim here is that maybe we have 12 minutes, so 4 minutes for each block, according to the stakeholders we already identified. Just write down what do you think their specific needs, specific challenges, just to try to identify all together the solution. I will ask to Anya, Marta, and Elina to join. Maybe Marta and Elina, they can join the 2 different groups. Anya, feel free to join wherever you want. So maybe you can help us identifying the solution. So you have the sticky notes here on the above, and yeah, those are the two blocks. I'm going to launch the breakout now.
Maybe Andrea, we have only 10 minutes left for this part now, so we focus on 2 or 3 key stakeholders, I would suggest,
yeah,
because otherwise would exceed our time of workshop time. So and I think this will also be enough then for today.
Yeah. Okay,
great. Thank you.
I launch the breakout now. Okay. Can you see the breakout? I will moderate the Technical Assistance Office one, and Edgar will moderate the Energy Community one. So see you there. Hi, Fiona.
Hello, sorry, I had to drop out. I'm back.
Great.
I guess the TAO is, could you just remind me what the abbreviation stands for?
Technical Assistance Office, sorry. So
Okay,
it's like from
perfect.
the local authority perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, the intermediary. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Maybe I can just write here. Uh, okay. So here the idea is really okay, selecting maybe as Edgar suggested correctly, the three relevant stakeholder we think, and writing down which are their needs from your point of view, their specific challenges for getting engaged, and try to figure out some solutions to really engage them. I will ask you to do by yourself now, and then maybe we can reserve like 2 minutes for discussing all together at the end. So we have 10 minutes now. Let's take like 3 minutes for each block just because we are really late. So I will stop talking now so you can concentrate a bit. Yeah. Anya, welcome in this room. Yeah. Participants are working on the specific block now. Maybe then you can help us with solutions. Yeah.
Hey everyone, sorry about that. I was bringing people to the rooms from the
Hi,
main room.
Marta. No problem. Yeah, we are already working. Participants are already working in the first block, the needs. And we are focusing on the first three stakeholders. Then, of course, if you are interested also to focus on other stakeholders, feel free to do that.
I only have the view access again.
Oh, why?
Yeah.
You should have access now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we move from needs to challenges then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. You just
Okay.
anticipated me. Yeah.
Turn off my sound.
Okay, who is ready? We can also start with writing down some solutions. I'm not asking to everybody, but maybe if someone wants to go there, asking also especially to Anya, Marta.
Well, in my case here, I was mostly observing what the experts in the topic are putting, but I definitely agree in what we saw when we did the 3 workshops with our 3 demos. It's very much aligned with this. So including information on financial needs and financial resources, super important. And I see that it was shown in different points. The pilots and the demonstrators, we have seen that it's also very important. I'm talking about the needs. It's also very important, as seen also in other projects and with our living labs. We have seen that as well. And when going to the citizens, like also understanding how to talk to them and the language that needs to be used when talking to them also aligns with what Elena was mentioning in her presentation. So yeah, pretty much aligned with what we have seen.
Thanks, Marta. So running into the last minute. Okay, so you can finish, of course, to write your sticky notes. I will close the rooms now, so we can just have a very 1 minute wrap up from the two groups and say hello to everybody. Okay, thank you.
Mm-mm.
Okay, is everybody back? Still not. Just waiting for everybody coming back. Okay.
So, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your discussions and also your work together in these small groups. So now we have 1 minute to 12. So let's shortly summarize and wrap up some key insights which you had in your respective groups. Maybe Andrea, you will start, or somebody from your group will start. And
at the end, we had really, maybe I can do that. We had an amazing interaction. Let's say it was not talking, but really replicators were writing a lot. So we didn't focus only on two stakeholders, but maybe I will go directly to the solutions that are the most interesting one. And then, of course, I will say to everybody that we will send the minutes after this workshop, also with the results from the mirror board. So, okay, important is for decision makers sharing the best practices, so that really it's working. Let's say the energy community is something really useful and sustainable, and of course, it's important enabling the legal and regulatory framework. But then, of course, it's important. A solution could be also involving the intermediaries. Then from the DSOs and businesses, it's important to consider digital solution and the automation for flexibility, funding, of course, and also something about local tariffs. The data collection also was a topic. As regards citizens, associations, and NGO funding, knowledge creation, and facilitation and creation of community building. And then when it comes on the academia and university, again here, intermediaries to manage expectation and spillover effects, and case studies and use cases pilots. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay, thanks a lot, Andrea. Anything else you from the group would like to add here or comment? All right. So then let's go to our part. So we were just 3 in our group. So we started then focusing on the citizens, because we thought this is maybe the most important stakeholder group, because they will become the actors finally in energy communities. And so what we, Andrea, could you move over to our, yeah, okay, great.
Yeah,
so their most important need is to save costs, also due to the economic crisis which we face, for example, in Germany for the moment, with high energy costs, cost of living rising due to inflation, etc. So and also some of them are concerned about environmental issues, but many people say, okay, my priority is my standard of living, or to survive, even. And so there is some kind of secondary prioritization of the whole climate topic and also renewable energy topic. Also, there is a really diverse energy market. You have many providers who sell or offer really cheap contracts, for the moment. And these are really the bad contracts, where maybe fossil fuel energy, or I don't know, but not really green energy, which is maybe a bit more expensive, is behind. And so what is really decisive here is to provide them a low level of entrance and access to the whole renewable energy and energy community topic. And so we went over to the challenges. The most important thing is to convince them that renewable energy are beneficial, that they are cheap energy in the long run. Maybe, Andrea, could you move your screen? Yeah, okay. And it's also important to be aware that they have individual needs. There's not kind of some common general need of citizens, because they're different social groups, different age groups, etc. So you have consider this as well, and you must find a way to convince them that you have a kind of cheap and but also responsible energy, which also makes something for the future. And another challenge is that many people have to work a lot and have also families and really no time, to engage themselves into energy communities. And there's also a legal framework in Germany which has improved a little bit, but which is still lacking and now not in place, because it is now a change of government here, and maybe the next government will make it worse. So, okay, the solution is to find promoters among the citizens, people who are really engaged, who have experience with, for example, PV on the roofs, who can explain to others that it's a good solution, that it's really economical in the long term, that it saves costs, that it's a positive contribution to a better environment. And so this was from our side the thing which we thought was a really good solution, to work together with promoters and people who are also strong personalities and can convince their neighborhood. This means local actors, local people who are well connected to their neighbors, to their environment, and who can then kind of pull other people, with them, and to do something, and also to change. Yeah, that's it. So in very short, and
Great.
well, I think maybe somebody, Elina, you have an idea,
I can
and which
add, because
share with that?
I was there for this very interesting discussion, really focusing on the citizen part. So given the limited time that we had, but the discussion was really fruitful, and of course this was a very nice thinking process to do it also for the other stakeholders. I would just suggest that this is a tool that the Miro that Edgar and Andrea put together can provide you a structured process of thinking also back with your teams when reflecting all the stakeholders and their needs and challenges. So it might be a starting point, this exercise. We can do the same and continue doing throughout the process that can help you map all these needs and challenges and think upon solutions that can really help you with the process.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. Yeah, and they also
very
will
much.
suggest to everybody, feel free, really will be great if in the next days, maybe also today, if you want to continue to work on that, just really completing all stakeholders with needs, challenges, and solution, we will have more inputs and details to really send out more complete minutes in the next day. So that can be really helpful for you. Yeah. And if you like this format, we can also organize the next 2-3 workshop that we have to do in this way. Maybe we have to be more sticky with times. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, then I think thanks a lot to all of you, especially our speakers, who gave us really good examples and really valuable methods which we can use in the whole process of onboarding our stakeholders. Thanks a lot to everybody who participated today, to all our replicators who were here and contributed with their ideas and also their insights to these results which we've achieved now on the Miro board. And one last word to the next workshop which we'll organize. This will take place in January and is to the finance or investment and funding of energy community topics. So we'll keep you updated, and if the time is fixed, we'll inform you and invite you to our next workshop. It will probably take place at the end of January. We are still working on the program and also looking for speakers. So we hope that our workshop today was helpful for you. If you have any feedback, please get back to us, and so we'll also try to improve our replicators program, so from step to step. And if you have good ideas or suggestions, please feel free to come back to us and give us these tips. And so then we wish you a nice Christmas and a happy end of the year and a good start into the next year. And we're really looking forward to working with you then in the new year in January on the next topic. And so have a nice time and get well and be happy. So and enjoy your holidays.
Thank
Thank you all.
See you.
Wish you good holidays. Yeah,
Bye.
thank you all.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Thank you.